Again, welcome to this Gates Online webinar on a new Gates rubber synchronous timing belt. My name is Frederik. I'm a product line manager for Gates Industrial within Europe. I will be your presenter through this journey of timing belts. And this presentation is taking place from the Belgium office of Gates in Erembodegem. So I hope you can see the screen very well. So we'll go through the different slides. So as mentioned, we will present to you a new Gates technology platform for synchronous belts. Gates has been working several years on an upgrade of a new timing belt to can make a better performing product. This presentation will have three major blocks. One block will be the key advantages of the product, in which we will highlight the performance capability, the temperature range, service-free aspects, and some other benefits. The second block will be on opportunities, which applications, which type of industries, and to give also somewhat more details. We will also go through the product specification, which gives you somewhat more information on the construction, the GT range itself, some benchmarking information, some other product specifications that can be useful, and also how we build up our order or production codes. But first, we start with the key advantages and benefits. So the new product is called PowerGrip GT4. So it's an upgrade within the PowerGrip GT product family, which is now the 4th generation. The new product, which you see here on the screen in a nice picture, will bring you higher power carrying capabilities. There's also a change in materials, which makes that the belt will have a wider temperature range capability. And because of the higher power capacity, we'll also intend to use it more against roller chain type of applications. So also we want to highlight the service-free aspect compared to a roller chain drive. First of all, the higher power capability. We have a tradition within Gates. We have a path forward within Gates. That's when we introduce a new upgrade of a new type of timing belt, that we also improve the performance of the products. This makes that for future generations of our new drive designs, we can use smaller belt widths for the same type of load. So we improve basically the power capability of the product. And this allows to apply, as the first point mentions, to apply a narrower belt in certain applications, or it opens up a broader range of uses. Now the belt can also be put in applications where perhaps there's not enough space to go with the existing timing belts, but going with the GT4, there's now enough space by squeezing the belt width. So in this instance, also machine builders, so people designing new applications, can fit belt drives into smaller spaces, or have belts with higher torque or higher capability. And on the other hand, on existing applications, on existing drives that are already equipped with existing timing belts, factory managers can basically also save money, as the belt will run longer over previous generations, or you have less downtime, you have less cost of ownership, you have less time to spend to repair new belts. So it's also in that aspect an improvement that this new belt will run longer over previous generations of timing belts. There's a big step made forward in the material, so there's an advantage of material science. So a lot of black rubber belts, we can say, are made out of a compound which is called chloroprene or neoprene. That's a type of rubber that has been around for many, many years, and is the basis for a lot of industrial timing belts. With this new PowerGrip GT4, Gates moves away from the chloroprene path and has introduced the EE compounds, or the ERubber, which is better known within the industry as EPDM. So it's a type of rubber which is used in a lot of applications, mainly also for heat resistance. And in this case, also, when we introduce it into a timing belt, it will also help to carry higher power capabilities for the belt at a greater temperature range. So the range of temperature resistance of the belt due to the compound becomes larger over a chloroprene type of timing belts. So again, this larger temperature range enables us to have applications both at the high and low end temperature band. So this PowerGrip GT4 has an operational temperature. That means that you can run the belts from -40 to +120 degrees centigrade and have the same power capability. If you compare this temperature range versus an existing chloroprene belt, a chloroprene belt goes normally till -30 degrees centigrade. So you cannot go below this value, otherwise the belt rubber freezes, literally. So with EPDM, you can go easily up to -40 without any issue. And also on the positive side, on the plus side, chloroprene is limited to 100 degrees centigrade. And EPDM, you can easily go up to 120 and have still continuous lifetime of the belt. And for certain application cases, you can even push the limit up to 140. But you wouldn't use that for a continuous drive. That would be intermittent, so you can expose the belt for a reasonable time to 140 degrees. But the main message is that with EPDM, with EE compounds, we have opened up the temperature range, both in the low end and the high end, which helps to use this belt in a wider range of type of applications without the need to go for a special construction or special compounds. It's just a standard available rubber belt. And the last point is the service-free aspect. Of course, timing belts are in general service-free. You put a timing belt on an application, you tension it correctly, you align it correctly, and then you leave it running for the lifetime. In this case, also, we want with PowerGrip GT4 also enter more into the roller chain applications, which is basically the lighter type of roller chain. I think a lot of people know, and if you don't know, you should check it out. You know, the polar chain type of belts, which is offered by Gates, which is a real heavy type of timing belt, which can replace a lot of heavy type of roller chain applications also. But in a lot of instances, a polar chain is an overshoot in a roller chain type of application, certainly in the lighter roller chains. So there, the rubber belt can be a valuable alternative in the future also to replace the smaller chain type of applications. And of course, the timing belt has a few advantages versus a roller chain. You don't need any lubrication. You can avoid grease. There's no retentioning required. You put the belt on the application and then you leave it running for the lifetime. You don't have to retention, you don't have to check the tension. So it eliminates somewhat hidden costs like maintenance throughout basically the whole life of the belt. Also, and that's certainly when you go up in RPM, a timing belt will run much more smoothly. It's much more quiet. It also will reduce the contamination risks. As mentioned, you don't need oil or grease. So in short, it makes it an ideal replacement also for traditional chain drives. So when you would need to design a drive, don't always think chain is the only solution. It can also be that a rubber timing belt, being a PowerGrip GT4, is a valuable alternative to make the application run and work. Also, some other benefits to using a timing belt. It depends a bit on which market and which type of application you're putting the belts. One of the key advantages that we also want to highlight is the high efficiency. So a timing belt in general, so it's timing belts in general, it's not just specific for PowerGrip GT4, but the timing belt is always running at a very high efficiency, up to 98%. And the efficiency is also constant over the lifetime of the belt. It doesn't go down. It's just a constant value over the lifetime. So it's also in these times of CO2 reduction, a valuable point to underline that with timing belts, you always have a high efficiency application. The next points, improved ergonomics, less weight, safe employee working condition, rust-free and safe in food handling applications, and less maintenance. These are all points compared to a roller chain type of application. So when going again from roller chain to a timing belt, the belt will be lighter than a roller chain, so you have improved ergonomics, it's less weight. You don't have to put a lot of strain on the application. You don't have to put a lot of effort to install the belt. So it's safer also for the employees to work with a timing belt than with a chain application. There's less risk of contamination. It's rust-free. It's made without any metal parts, rubber belt, so that can also be excluded. And you have less maintenance. So there's no oil dripping or fat dripping on the ground. So it's just a clear, a nice rubber belt running. You can also increase your uptime. So like mentioned, the timing belt can run longer continuously. And also with the new compound, there is basically no difference. So going from chloroprene to EPDM. So the chemical resistance against alkalic acids, UV light or ozone remains the same. So it's in that aspect the same resistance as for chloroprene. And also, but it's in general again, for rubber belts, you shouldn't put them into oil. But when there would be a need that some oil is dripping or grease onto the belt, then know that for EPDM that's still allowable. But we shouldn't recommend that you fully put the belt into oil. That will cause issues with any type of timing belt. Then you better consult Gates to see which type of rubber we can propose. Unless you go to polychain, that's also a solution. To make that belt also work into an oily environment. But normally, timing belts don't need any oil. If it cannot be avoided, it's better to check if that would be feasible or not with our technical departments. This is a bit in general. Sorry, these are the industries in which we also apply the industrial GT4. We consider it a bit as a workhorse. It's a timing belt, a type of timing belt that can be used in a lot of different applications. It's not just limited to one type of market or one type of machine or one type of industry. Here you see a few industries which can be named for the use of this type of timing belts, so construction and mining. Forestry and agricultural, there will be a lot of applications and blades need to be driven by a timing belt. Textile is a big consumer of a big user of timing belt drives. Of course, we have a lot of stationary machinery in a lot of production areas which are using belts or chain applications where this can be used. Paper and pulp, food processing, packaging industry is still heavily growing to in the need of also more automation. We have automotive assembly lines, and of course robotics. Robotics is also an increasing market in which a lot of timing belts are used more frequently. Then the next chapter is somewhat more details on the PowerGrip GT4 product specification. What have we done to make this belt GT4 a better belt over the GT3? We have been working, or our development teams around the world have been working on the different aspects of a timing belt. Timing belt remains a technical product that needs to be developed on the different parts of the timing belt. And the first one, of course, is the cord. Cord is a very important component of a timing belt. And in this case, the cord has been re-engineered to be capable of handling the higher performance and also the higher bending frequency, because the belt can run longer over certain applications. Also, the belt needs to be improved in flexibility. We still use fiberglass. So the cord that is used within the PowerGrip GT4 is a fiberglass technology, which is the same type of technology that is used in all PowerGrip timing belts from Gates, from the industrial side. The main advantage of fiberglass, is that it's a very length-stable cord, and that's something what we need for making timing belts. The belt cannot stretch. The pitch of the belt needs to be and remain the same over the complete lifetime of the belt. So we need a very length-stable cord. So we always will go for fiberglass, which is a good combination of length, stability, and flexibility. So that gives us the advantage that when using fiberglass, that you don't need to retension the belts. It also has a very high flex fatigue. It means that you can bend the belt many more times over a pulley than and previous cords. As mentioned, high length stability because we need to keep the pitch as stable as possible. And also by using a new designed cords, we also have enhanced durability of the belt. So the belt will run longer with this new cord over the previous generation of glass cords. The next aspect, because only with a cord you cannot make good timing belts, is that we have, as mentioned, re-engineered and introduced a new generation of elastomer. Elastomer is a general name for rubber materials. So the rubber material that we have chosen is no longer chloroprene, but EPDM, which gives us a new timing belt with a class-leading power capability. So it means that we have upgraded the belt to a new level of performance, and we can, depending a bit on where you are within the RPM range and Sprocket range, we have up to 25% rating increase over the previous generation in PowerGrip GT3. So that will allow for a more compact belt drive design and application. As mentioned, the EPDM compounds allows us for a wider temperature range. So there we stretch both the low end and the high ends. Temperature range, so from -40 to +120 degrees centigrade. And what we also have done, or what we also have maintained, is the ATEX compliance. So the ATEX compliance is that you can use the belt within ATEX environments. And to do that, we need to make timing belts static conductive to ISO 9563. So the ISO standard specifies on how to test a belt for electric conductivity. You cannot surpass a certain amount of electrical resistance. When you don't surpass that level, then your belt is static conductive. Then no electrical charges will be built up on the belt. It will be guided away over the pulley. Of course, it is important to have the machine earthed to the ground. If it's not earthed, then basically the belt will not solve the whole issue of static conductivity. But know that the compound has been made also static conductive to ISO 9563. And going away from chloroprene, chloroprene is a halogen, which is not that good for usage within the environments. Moving to EPDM or EE compound, we eliminate chloroprenes also when you have to dispose of the belts. It's more green, it's more environmental friendly as we avoid chlor into the belts. Next point, you can have a fantastic cord, you can have a fantastic engineered compound. If you don't have a good fabric around the tooth, which is sticking very well to the tooth, you basically don't have a very good belt. So also on that aspect, when we have moved from GT3 to GT4, we have re-engineered and we have researched to have better fabrics on the tooth of the belts to also improve the overall performance of the product. So fabric is a very important component into a timing belt. It helps us also to reduce the friction between the timing belt and the pulley groove. So because this material is made out of nylon, it's nylon in contact with the pulley, so that reduces the friction. That also allows, together with the thickness of the belt and the flexibility of the cord, of course, to go up to high efficiencies of 98%. We also have an improved wear resistance. When the belt needs to run longer and has more power capability, also the resistance to wear needs to be enhanced and needs to be improved. So that also has happened with introducing new fabrics into the PowerGrip GT4. Reduces friction due to the contact of nylon with the sprocket. Better durability. And next to the compound, which is static conductive, also the fabric has been treated. Also there we have static conductive features according to ISO 9563. So together with the compound and the cord, the compound and the fabric, we make that the belt is conductive to this ATEX requirements. Then just for general information, when we finish our belts, when we get the belts out of production, the back surface is not always that smooth. So we always have a grind finish to make the belt smooth and look also more attractive when used into the application. When you would need to put a back idler on the belt, then it will also be smooth running, and that will also eliminate any vibrations onto onto the belt drive. And then at last, PowerGrip GT. So the belt uses what is called within Gates the GT tooth form. The GT tooth form is an abbreviation for a Gates tooth. GT stands for Gates tooth, which is a tooth engineered by Gates in the 1990s. And it has been engineered as such, it has been developed as such that it's a perfect fit on HDD pulley grooves. So whenever you have an HDD pulley groove on the existing applications, it is absolutely no problem to put in a GT4 timing belt into this pulley groove on 8 and 14 millimeter pitch. Also know that this GT tooth form has been engineered as such that it has some damping effect. So when it goes in and out of the pulley groove, it damps a little bit the impact of the belt onto the pulley groove. So it also reduces running noise. So a GT type of belt will run at a lower noise level than, for instance, an HDD timing belt in an HDD pulley groove. And also the tooth form has been made as such that there is an improved tooth jump resistance. So when there would be a shock load, or when there would be an overload on the application, a PowerGrip GT, GT4 timing belt will show less likelihood to jump out of the groove, and will try to keep the power into the belts and try to transmit the power over the application. The range. So we have been speaking about the PowerGrip GT4. The PowerGrip GT4 as a material and compound and construction is introduced in the what we call 8 and 14 millimeter pitch. And the pitch is the distance between 2 feet of a timing belt. So we have the 8 millimeter range and the 14 millimeter range. The range itself, the length range or the size range is identical to the existing PowerGrip GT3. So it goes from 3,384 millimeters on 8 millimeter pitch to the 4.4 meters on 14 millimeter. It goes from our smallest size 966 to the longest 6.8 meters. So it covers a wide range of length sizes that we have within this portfolio. What has been added or what has been changed are 4 new lengths. So the target of the PowerGrip GT4 within Gates is also to have a global product line. So a product line that you can find in the Americas, in Europe, and in Asia, with the same portfolio, with the same performance of the product. And to make our portfolio equal around the globe, we also introduced into Europe 4 new length sizes, being the 576, the 1104, 1224, and the 2200. So when there would be a machine arriving in Europe with a certain length, know that Gates has it basically also in Europe available to exchange to a PowerGrip GT4. A point of view standard widths. The widths are in line with what the standard is on sprockets. The sprockets into the market are typically made for 20, 30, 50, and 85 millimeter width on 8 millimeter pitch. So that hasn't changed. That is the same, still the same standard, still the same widths. And on 40 millimeter, you see the 5 standard widths that we also make available within this market. No, these are the standard widths. If you would have a demand for something special, a non-standard width, we are basically flexible also for doing that. We can also offer non-standard widths or in-between widths or even different widths put together, because this material is also a stock product line within Europe, so we are very flexible in also offering other different widths on the different applications. Just to underline and to reinforce the message, so PowerGrip GT4, Sprocket compatibility, so the GT4 timing belt fits in what we call the market profile standard. So the market profile standard for Europe is mainly HDD or rubber timing belt sprockets. So when you have an HDD sprocket available in 8 or 14 millimeter and you have a problem application or a drive that you're not satisfied with and where you want to improve the performance, then know that you only have to change the belt when the belt will be the cause, of course, of the problem. You can change the belt to a PowerGrip GT4. You can keep your HDD sprockets when it's still in good shape. And then you can benefit from the PowerGrip GT4 performance and benefits. Also, when you put in a GT profile into an HD sprocket, it has improved backlash. Backlash is the amount of play or the amount of air between one groove and one pulley, one groove of the sprocket and one teeth of the belt. When you would put an HD tooth into an HD sprocket, you would see in such a drawing like here on the right, that you have more play or you would have more space between the groove and the belt. And also PowerGrip GT, as mentioned, it will have less running noise because there is some compression at the bottom of the tooth that helps to damp when the belt is entering into a pulley groove. So it has also reduced running noise due to the small damping effect on the bottom of the pulley of the belt tooth. Just for information, how when you want to have or order a new PowerGrip GT4 belt, this is how Gates builds up the terminology. Of course, everybody is free to make his own logic or to apply the logic that they have within their own company. But we work with the name being GT4, and we always have the length in millimeters. So in this case, the 840 millimeters. And we have 8MGT to indicate it's an 8mm pitch and a GT tooth form. And at the end, we have the width, standard width of the belt, which is 20mm. And the same example for the 40mm. Maybe always interesting to mention is that the length, in this case, 4,326, that's always a multiple of the pitch of the belt. So the 4,326 will be a multiple of 14, and the 840 also needs to be a multiple of 8. There's no escape. That's always a logic within a timing belt, that the length is a multiple of the number of tooth. To give you some information on what is printed on the belt, on the left side, you always have the Gates logo, which indicates who is making the product. Then you have the brand name, in this case, PowerGrip GT4. And then the middle part will show you the length, 1,600 in this case, and the pitch, 8MGT. And below, we also have branded onto the belt the static conductivity compliance to ISO 9563. So it shows also onto the belt that the belt is compliant to be used in an ATEX environment. Then more to the right side, we also include the country of origin. So a big portion of the PowerGrip GT4 timing belts are made in Dumfries in the UK. Another portion comes from Gates US. And then on the right side, you see more internal information or more production-related information to Gates. So in this case, for instance, the 42919 DS, the 929 will indicate the week, and the 19 will indicate the production year. So it's week 29 of 2019, and it's made in Dumfries. So the D is for Dumfries, Scotland. Then you have another number just below, that's the 7951, etc. That's basically an internal traceability number, which allows Gates to know when the belt was made, on which machinery, which cord. So it helps us to have 100% traceability on this product, which is more an internal code. It doesn't really link any to the dimensions or to the name of the product. It's really traceability, which is used internally within the company. Point of view, technical specifications, some small ones. The minimum diameter, the minimum sprocket remains at 22 grooves for an 8mm pitch and 28 grooves for the 40mm pitch. So that hasn't changed. That's still the minimum recommended. Going below, there you really need to be careful and take contact with our technical people, because that could really deteriorate the performance of the belt. Also, point of view, backbending. We have maintained the same advices. So 85mm is the minimum back idler for 8mm and 190. Again, when you would like to go below these values, we recommend to contact our technical teams to evaluate if that is feasible and if it doesn't damage too much the timing belt. Just for the overview and for the evolution, as mentioned, PowerGrip GT was first introduced into the 90s. In 5 different pitches, so 2mm, 3, 5, 8, and 14. The first upgrade happened in 2000. Then we moved the 8 and 14 millimeter to a GT2 platform. But on average, it's not a linear plus 30% performance increase. Then a few years later, a major upgrade has happened throughout the complete range. So then the 2, 3, 5, 8, and 14 millimeter were upgraded with the respective values that you see here. So we have the complete GT3 product line available with new materials and new performance. Now going into 2020, we will add onto the 8 millimeter pitch, on average about 30% power rating increase over the existing PowerGrip GT3. And on the 14 millimeter, you can go up to 25% rating increase. This means also that for the 2, 3, and 5, basically nothing will happen for the moment. So that will remain in the existing chloroprene construction with the chloroprene versions. So going forward, the PowerGrip GT product family will be a combination of GT3 and 2, 3, and 5 millimeter pitch, and will become GT4 construction or EPDM in 8 and 14 millimeter. Might be somewhat confusing, but this is basically the path forward for the GT family. So the main target will be 8 and 14 millimeter, and then in a later stage, the GT3 products. Some dynamic benchmarking results. So what we always do when we start developing a new product is looking at what competition has been doing and trying to test these belts and see what the performance is, also to see what Gates needs to do to make the belt better. You see in this case with 8 millimeter pitch on GT4 compared to 3 main competitors, we have a new product which is basically better performing than the different equivalent products from our competitor manufacturers. So we are running to the end of this webinar session. So as a conclusion, the Gates PowerGrip GT4 is a next generation EPDM compound. Gates is pretty unique to introduce this compound as first within a timing belt, a standard timing belt. It's a new engineered halogen-free EPDM compound, which shows the result of our material science and know-how that we have in-house. And of course, the key advantage of this next generation compound is that we have a wider temperature range capability. So with a standard belt, we have opened up the temperature range span, so you can use a standard belt in a wider range of type of applications. And this turns into a wider range of benefits also for the overall industry. There's also a lot of marketing information that is available or from the website or via your sales contact of Gates. We have a sell sheet which explains in detail also and in short the advantage of the new PowerGrip GT4 product line. And I would also recommend to go to our Gates Europe landing page, in which you also can find the updated industrial power transmission catalog. So in the catalog, you will have the details on the PowerGrip GT4 product and also all those length sizes. And of course, also on our landing page, both in Europe and US, if you visit the landing page, gates.com, you will see on the first page an indication where you can have information also on the PowerGrip GT4. So it's a brand new product which is put in front of our message on the website. This is one webinar in English. If you like this webinar, we also invite you to look for other webinars, because this webinar will also be rolled out into different languages. So we have different people within our European organization. I know this webinar will also be given in French, in German, and Polish, in Russian, and in Turkish, and probably also some other languages. So feel free to visit our LinkedIn Gates Corporation page to check out even more webinars and maybe follow also one in the local language. This brings us to the end of the presentation. Would there be any questions from the audience? You can unmute yourself if you want to ask a question, or you can also type it into the chat session or the chat option that you have within the WebEx tool. So yeah, one question, seconds. There's the question if that we don't have any barcodes on the products. The reason is that we don't have any barcodes is that we mainly stock our PowerGrip GT products as slabs, and then we cut afterwards into belts. So if you would put a barcode onto the slab and then cut belts, then you would have always the same barcode for the different widths of belts. So that would be somewhat confusing. And that's why we don't have basically a barcode onto the slab product, because that's used for making a multitude of different belt widths. That's one of the reasons why we don't have the barcode printed onto this product. Who is the competitor for this product range? The main competitors that are also active within the PowerGrip GT3, GT4 performance for Europe are Continental. So Continental has the CXP type of product, which is in the same area. We have the Megadyne, which recently upgraded the Silver product to the Silver 2 platform. We have OptiBelt with the Omega HL products. And then probably also have a few American ones. Of course, you have Goodyear, which is now part of the Conti organization. You have some other ones also, but these are basically the main competitors for the PowerGrip GT product family. Okay, then noise reduction in comparison to eagle belts. That's always a tricky question. The eagle belts is it's not really known, but we know that when you put PowerGrip GT4 timing belts on the right tension in each of these sprockets, that you can get a noise level which is comparable to eagle belts. One of the disadvantages we find with eagle belts is that you have to pre-tension them pretty high. You need to put a very high tension onto the products, which is then basically a little bit a disadvantage of the noise. But it's not a straightforward answer. Noise is also a very difficult subject on timing belts. They have different types of noise, so it's not what you could have with GT, a well-performing belt against eagle without any special need for sprockets or special belts. Comparison with polychain, well, that's you can still say night and day difference. So polychain is still a high torque, more low speed type of application, while a PowerGrip GT is more of a high speed workhorse type of timing belt. So if you would compare it to polychain, you would still have a big, well, you still have a difference. Certainly now with the polychain carbon volt that has been recently upgraded, you would still have a difference between a normal rubber PowerGrip type of belt and the polychain. Polychain still has a carbon cord, while the PowerGrip GT4 still uses a glass cord, and that already gives a big difference in performance. There's also the question from the presentation to get it afterwards. This presentation, as mentioned, is also recorded, so it also will be posted in due time also on YouTube. So also there you can listen again to this presentation. And we can also share a copy if that would be needed. Okay, I don't think there will be any other questions. Then I wish to thank you for taking the time, and I hope it was interesting for each and one of you. If you would have any additional questions or remarks or things that you want to find out, we have our website, we have a LinkedIn page, we have our salespeople, we have application people, our internal salespeople. So we have a lot of points of contact if you want to have more information about this new PowerGrip GT4 product line. And then I wish you the best, and till next time. Have a good day.